Hi and welcome. My name is Mario Herge, and I've been living in the San Francisco Bay Area since 2001. This area is also known as Silicon Valley. So I'm reporting about technology trends and the innovative mindset that people bring with them, coming up with all these innovations that we are all using and loving. I'm doing talks, writing books about that, doing workshops. And the reason why I'm doing this talk today is because we're entering the age of humanoid robots. And I've written a book about that that's called Homo Syntheticus: How Humans and Machines Merge. For the time being, this book will be only available in German and available from June 4th, 2026, and coming out with my publisher Plassen Verlag. I've also written some other books on AI, and AI is an important component for humanoid robots. So one of the first books on AI that I've written was When Monkeys Teach Monkeys, wenn Affen von Affen lernen, and creative intelligence. In this book, I write more about generative AI, such as ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. When Monkeys Teach Monkeys, I talk more about the philosophical backgrounds of intelligence in general and artificial intelligence in specific. But let's go back into history, because we've seen for several thousand years that humans are very interested in telling tales about artificial beings. So, for example, here we have Talos, that was a giant, an artificial one created by Hephaestus, the god of the art of smithing, also known basically today as the innovation god. And he created this giant to protect the Isle of Crete. When he saw a ship coming that was full of enemies, he threw boulders at them. And if somebody really made it to the island, he would grab them, put them on his breasts, and basically grill them, barbecue them alive. The friends he would let just in, but he could only distinguish between good and bad, but not in this gray area where neither nor is coming in. And Jason and the Argonauts were shipwrecked and landed on this island, and he considered them to be enemies. So he started to attack them. But Medea, the wife of Jason, she realized that Talos had one wish. He wanted to become human. And she convinced him that she can help him become human. Now, wow, how was he alive? Because he had God's blood in his body, the ichor, which is this blood that the gods in the Greek Olymp had. This was flowing in his body. And she realized that at his ankle there was a little screw. If she took that out, he would lose his ichor and die. And she convinced him to do that because she told him he will become human. And so that's how they conquered him and were able to survive. Also, another artificial being was Pandora. We know this Pandora's box, where all the evil things are coming on Earth, and all the catastrophe and all the lies and the treachery and the fraud. But this artificial being was created on the command of Zeus, the godfather, and all the other gods had to give her their character, their parts. That means not only their beauty, but also all the evil things. And as you can imagine, who created that, the physical object? Of course, Hephaestus again, the god of innovation. In more recent history, somebody like Leonardo da Vinci was thinking of building a mechanical knight. As you know, he did dissect not only animals, but also people, which was back then forbidden. The church didn't allow that, but he did it anyways in order to figure out how ligaments, how tendons, how muscles are working in the human body, to be able to make better paintings and to understand it better. And out of that, he learned of how he could maybe do a mechanical knight. So he created drawings, sketches of how this could work. And here is a replica of how this would work if you build it in real time. More recently was a fairy tale, the Fairy Queenie, which told the story of Artegal, the good knight, who had a companion named Talus, which was a mechanical robot who helped him win against the bad enemies. But also, again, like Talos, the Greek giant, he could not distinguish the gray areas. He only knew bad and good and evil, basically. So with that, he interfered often in the adventures that Article lived in this fairy tale. Now, in even more recent news, we had, of course, Frankenstein, or better, the monster that Victor Frankenstein created. And this was a very tragic and sad figure because all he wanted was love and recognition by the people, but because of his appearance, people would hate him and fear him and run away. So that's a sad story here. In pop culture, in movies, we see always hybrid human machine beings or complete robotic things that look very much like humans, like in RoboCop, in Terminator, or in Blade Runner, where the protagonist even falls in love with one of those artificial beings, or AI, Ex Machina, or one of the most recent relatively funny movies, Companion, that came out in 2025. Highly recommended to watch that. Now, when we look at that as white people, as Europeans, we always are looking at it from a dystopical view. So all these movies basically have this negative, scenarios where humans have to fight these machines. But in fact, Asian people considered the Europeans already 2,000 years ago to be the machine makers, the makers of automata, of robots, basically. Because back then, these people, the Romans, knew already of how to use, for example, hydraulics. But they didn't use it for machines. They used it more for effect and show, like opening the doors of temples so that it looks like a god or these higher beings are interfering here and opening them. And so this was something that the Asians wanted to steal from the Europeans and send even people there. And the Europeans were considered to be very specific about that, protecting their knowledge here. While the Europeans today are more looking critically at artificial beings, Asian people are looking more in a positive way at it, and this is also reflected in their popular culture. Like, for example, Astro Boy or Iron Giant, movies where these artificial beings are friends and protectors of humans. And given the demographic change in countries such as Japan or China, where we have more and more older people and fewer younger people, this is also seen as something to consider in a positive development, to have these machines to take care of the elders, to do the work that is monotonous, dangerous, or so. So it's a very interesting development when you look at that. Now, here's a video from 1939 where at an international fair, Westinghouse showcased a humanoid robot named Electro. Just let's listen to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, with a great deal of pride and pleasure, I present to you Electro, the Westinghouse Moto Man. Electro, come here. And here he comes, ladies and gentlemen, walking up to greet you under his own power. Stop. You see, all I need to do is to speak into this phone, and Electro does exactly what I tell him to do, sometimes. But I don't see why I'm telling Electro's story when he's perfectly able to tell his own. So let's listen and see what Electro has to say to us today. All right, Electro, will you tell your story, please?
Who? Me?
Yes, you.
Okay, Toots. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be very glad to tell my story. I am a smart fellow, as I have a very fine brain of 48 electrical relays. It works just like a telephone switchboard. If I get a wrong number, I can always blame the operator.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, as funny as it was 100 years ago, we know today that probably this robot was not very much capable. And one of the things that is important is, of course, something like a brain, like artificial intelligence. And just back then, they didn't have that. But nowadays, we have that. And we'll take a look into that. Artificial intelligence is this kind of large piece, this like large beast of different things. When we talk about artificial intelligence of AI today, most people mean something like it's transformer-based language models. They've seen ChatGPT, they've seen Claude or Gemini, used it, are amazed what the system all can do and accomplish. But in fact, it's way, way more. But nonetheless, the development progress in artificial intelligence has led to also a boom in what we can do with physical objects, such as humanoid robots. And just when we look back at the internet, another technology, another general purpose technology, we see also how long the development took there and the length, the duration of the development at artificial intelligence. But let's start with the internet, for example. In the mid-90s, we started to have suddenly access to the internet. We had these HTML pages with colorful fonts and these flashy GIFs. And it took forever to download the picture. And we couldn't really do much there. That was basically all we could do. With the Web 2.0, suddenly everything changed because we had dynamic content that we could display. We could do online banking, online shopping. We could connect our mobile devices to that and browse from there. And suddenly we had all these applications and services that we are benefiting from today. And the latest iteration of the web is Web 3.0, where we have cryptocurrencies, where we have the metaverse, where we have virtual reality, augmented reality, the blockchain, all these things that now really make it super useful. That was during a period of about 30 years. Now, when we look back 3 years ago, when suddenly we had standalone AI, like a chatbot such as ChatGPT, we were amazed of what this tool could do. It sounded really like a human that we're talking to. And by connecting it to other software tools, such as a calendar, a travel plan, your bank account, a web server, a telephone system, suddenly this system is capable of doing way, way more things. We call that an autonomous AI or agentic AI or an AI agent, basically some bot that does work for you. Imagine you are traveling and you like the place so much that you decide to stay 2 days longer. So you'd have to reschedule a flight. You'd have to reschedule and extend your stay at the hotel, but also extend your rental car. Now, instead of doing it yourself and calling all those places or working on that and losing 2 hours of your time, you just tell the AI agent to do that for you. And you can give them also some criteria. Let's say it should not cost more than $100 to make those changes. And once the chatbot, this AI, the agent is done, comes to you, returns you the results, and you will own 1-2 hours of your own time. But all those things so far have what we call nobody. They are just living in the computer. But now we are entering the age where we have AI living on cars, robots, machines, and drones, and moving and living in our environments with us together. And the purpose of this talk is to focus here on robots, humanoid robots that we are going to interact with. And this is something that we're going to hear in the second part of this talk, where I'm going to talk about humanoid robots. What's the status? What's a humanoid robot? Why are we building them? What are the components? How much do they cost? And most important of all, what are they able to do and when will we have one?